Here again, as you gain control of the arc gap, rod movement, and travel speed, you'll find that 7018 runs easier and cleaner with the amperage set a little to the hot side. The angle of the rod not only affects how the filler metal is deposited, but how the molten slag will behave. If the rod is held straight up and down, the slag can get in front of the weld puddle. If the rod is laid too far down, the flux coating won't burn evenly and the rod may stick. When the rod is angled between 45 and 90 degrees, the slag is forced back where it belongs, over the molten filler metal. Welding in the flat position is fairly simple. Remember to relax, get comfortable, and use 2 hands on the stinger. Try to maintain a short arc gap and constant travel speed. Watch the outside edges of the puddle to make sure they're fusing and staying even. Look behind the rod for an idea of the weld buildup. In the flat position, even 532 rods are fairly easy to control if your welding machine can produce enough amperage and there's plenty of metal to carry the heat. For a horizontal, we'll be welding across. If you're just starting out, try using a 332 rod. The smaller puddle is a little easier to control. Normally, I weld from left to right because I can see the puddle better. For 7018 in a horizontal, I move from right to left. You can weld in either direction, whichever is more comfortable. Angle the rod up and back into the weld a little. The puddle is fluid, so keep moving to avoid excessive weld buildup. Molten slag will cover the bottom, but watch the top side to keep the bead straight and avoid undercut. If the weld bead wants to sag, try increasing the travel speed. You want to go slow enough to let the molten metal fuse, but fast enough to keep the base metal from overheating, which causes the puddle to get more fluid and sag. Vertical welds with 7018 are made uphill. Start at the top and scratch down to where you want to start the puddle. You can run straight up or use a side-to-side movement. When I do this, it feels like there's a slight arc in the motion. Move across the center relatively quick. As soon as the puddle ties in on the side, cross back and keep on going. The amperage setting and travel speed go hand in hand, especially when you're going uphill. Maintain a constant short arc gap. Don't let the rod burn away and don't jam the rod into the puddle. As you gain experience, you can carry more metal, but try starting out with a 332 rod and keep moving. You don't want the base metal overheating, which is the main reason the puddle falls out. Overhead with 7018 produces an excellent weld. The heat is going right where you want it. Try about the same amperage you'd use for welding flat and hold the rod nearly straight up and down or angled slightly into the weld. You can run straight or try a little side-to-side motion to carry more metal, and you can carry quite a bit of metal overhead. Get comfortable and be creative if you have to. When you can control the rod movement, that metal will stay up there. However, because the slag remains molten longer, the slag can drip. I usually wear a leather welding jacket for overheads. You will be right underneath the weld. 7018 takes a little more practice, but it's well worth the time to learn how to use this rod. Well, that's about it. I hope I've given you an idea of what to do and what to look for to run good weld beads. As you're welding, concentrate the whole time you're burning that rod and focus on the molten puddle. Do whatever it takes to make that puddle do what you want it to do. There isn't anything automatic about arc welding. You need to put that metal where it belongs and learn to see the weld as it's going in. When you're done, inspect every weld you make. If what you did warm weld bead will come with practice, but you do want the sides of the weld to be tied in nicely to the base metal. If the sides aren't tied in, you may be moving too fast, jamming the rod into the puddle, or running too low of an amperage setting. Moving too slow will overheat the base metal, Long arcing will produce an inconsistent weld bead with excessive spatter. Everybody welds a little different, so watch other welders if you get the chance and develop a style and rhythm of your own. Practice with different types and sizes of rods, and remember, arc welding is about making one good weld bead at a time.